You are furthering the argument against liberal arts colleges, which I am not in agreement with. I agree that Oberlin should exist and probably is a great college. It is currently overreacting. This is a community-supported legal education channel. Find out how you can support our mission at the links in the description below. You may remember, what was it, about 2 weeks ago, we did the live stream about the Oberlin College thing. And Oberlin College was the college in Oberlin, Ohio, that shares the same name. And right in the middle of campus, there's a number of shops and stores and buildings and locations. And one of them is Gibson's Bakery. And if you followed this, it was a really interesting, compelling story because Gibson's Bakery basically caught a shoplifter, a normal, not everyday event, but a normal event. And Gibson's Bakery caught a shoplifter, and then sort of everything blew up. The students at the college were convinced somehow, you can decide for yourself, because I don't really know how people make these leaps in conclusions, but they decided that the bakery had been illegally discriminatory, in other words, racist, in arresting the shoplifter. Without really any research or evidence. Sure, it's possible for a bakery to be illegally discriminatory. Absolutely. Did they have evidence of it? No. And then there was a lot of support from the college. Now, the big question remains, at least on the college's side, because a jury disagreed, because we went through a whole trial and a jury found them liable, not just for $11 million in compensatory damages, but another $33 million in punitive damages, and then another number of millions in attorney's fees that I don't know if we have that number yet. And then that'll get pared down because that's a bit too much for Ohio law, so it'll probably be somewhere around 33 total in damages, compensatory plus punitive, and then attorney's fees. So we're looking at around $40-some million in damages. But the college does not agree, and they let us know that they did not agree with the jury after the $11 million award, and they let us know that they did not agree with the jury after the $33 million award. And now they're going to let us know as well why they think the jury was wrong in this publicly released FAQ, which I just think this is nuts. But let's go through it together. FAQs and background about the lawsuit filed by Gibson's Bakery against Oberlin College. Do we know when they released this? This was like last week, right? This was like... I
can try to find that information.
Yeah, I think this was like last week. It was a few days ago. This is not something that's old. This is brand new. On November 9th, 2016, an Oberlin student... Okay, so before I begin, the thing I want you to look at here, if you've paid attention to the live stream and you know all the details, because we spent 2.5 hours going over this. I can understand if you don't, like I'm totally forgiven if you don't, but if you did, you're going to be able to pick out all the things that are missing in this, the things that were alleged and accused, and you saw maybe some of it with your own eyes on the police body cam footage and the interview and all that. Put two and two together, or rather whatever the inverse of a whole number is, and try to see what's missing from this now. On November 9th, 2016, an Oberlin student inside Gibson's Bakery was accused of shoplifting by Alan Gibson, a bakery employee and son and grandson of the business owners. According to witnesses, the student ran out of the store and Alan Gibson chased him onto Tappan Square and initiated a physical altercation. Two other students became involved in the altercation. When police arrived, they arrested all three students. Alan Gibson was not arrested. Witnesses reported that Mr. Gibson had initiated the physical contact. There's already a bunch of stuff missing from that, yes. Right? Like, it made it look like Alan Gibson initiated the physical altercation. Not false, right? It's not untrue. He did initiate the physical altercation by grabbing I forget what the guy's name is at this point, by grabbing the student who had shoplifted, which you're allowed to do. You're allowed to use reasonable force under the circumstances to recover your property or whatever. So was he allowed to kill the student? No. Was he allowed to maim the student, send him to the hospital? No. But was he allowed to grab the student and hold on to the student? Absolutely. Does this make it look like that? No. 2 other students became involved in the altercation. You mean where the police got testimony that those 2 students then started beating Alan Gibson and didn't stop? Like, really? That's how the college characterizes 2 students beating on Alan Gibson, as in they got involved in the altercation that Alan Gibson started. Witnesses reported that Mr. Gibson had initiated the physical They doubled down again. Witnesses reported that Mr. Gibson had initiated the physical contact. What was the legal outcome? 8 months later, August 2017, as part of the plea deal, the 3 students pled guilty and read a statement that the Gibsons were not racist. Okay, that's very true. In November 2017, 1 year after the incident, the Gibsons filed a civil lawsuit claiming that Oberlin College and certain Oberlin administrators participated in defaming the business. So then this heading, November 2016 protest. How did the protest start? Students reported that the protest arose out of the students' concerns about the physical altercation, the police response, and concerns voiced by some students of color of disparate treatment while shopping in the bakery. Word of the incident and arrests quickly spread among students. Students organized their own protest, which took place the following day. 150 to 200 students participated. What role did the college administrators play at the protest? Oberlin's policy handbook directs that the dean of students is to be present at all protests to ensure the students' demonstration are safe and lawful for all, including residents. Exactly. Somebody explain to me how the college is supposed to maintain a lawful protest. I don't understand. Like, if the students don't maintain a lawful rapport or demeanor, what's the college going to do? Stop! Everybody stop! Please stop your unlawful behavior! Really? Like, that's what the dean's gonna do? To 150 angry students? To 200 angry students? The dean's responsibility to maintain the lawful protest here. And this is, by the way, if it's the dean's responsibility to maintain the lawfulness of the protest, then isn't it the dean's responsibility when it's not a lawful protest? Just saying. And it's their words. I'm sure that's not what they meant, but that's what they said. In keeping with the policy, Dean of Students Meredith Raimondo was the college's official representative throughout the protest. There were no arrests, physical violence, or property damage in the protest. Okay, maybe there was no property damage. I'd have my doubts, but okay. Did Dean Raimondo pass out protest flyers created by students? Did she use a bullhorn? They say no. Jason Hawk, the editor of the Oberlin News Tribune, said in his testimony that he approached the dean of students and asked what was happening. The dean asked a student to provide her with a flyer and handed it to him. Mr. Hawk testified that the dean provided him with the flyer to accommodate his request and that he did not see her handing out flyers. Yes, the dean spoke for only 2 minutes using a bullhorn. Wasn't the response a moment ago that no, she didn't use a bullhorn, and now it's yes? Maybe she's saying no to the first compound question and then yes to the second compound question. But that's kind of disingenuous to phrase it as a compound question so that you can answer no to it and then later say yes. So the dean did speak for 2 minutes on a bullhorn, and these 2 minutes she identified herself and explained her presence and her role. Okay, I would like to go back to this first paragraph here. It's the entire basis for them saying that no protest flyers were passed out is them saying that they didn't pass out a protest flyer to one person who happened to be a reporter. Yeah. So that's kind of a weird way to negate that. Then on, why didn't administrators prevent students from protesting? Because it would violate college policy to attempt to prevent students from exercising their right to free speech. However, you did just say it was the college's responsibility to maintain a lawful protest. So there is at least some kind of limiting language in there. The court ruled that the protests were a constitutionally protected exercise of the right of expression and assembly, and that cannot be the basis of any civil liability. Correct. Simply protesting without more is not the basis for defamation. Did senior administrators participate in the protest, as some media outlets are claiming? The college says no. No member of the college's senior leadership participated in the protest. So once again, keep in mind that they're limiting the language to a single protest the day after. Yeah. So this is they're answering. It's sort of like when you throw a ball up in the air for yourself to hit it. Like, you have all the control. I mean, assuming you have some skill, you have all the control, you throw the ball up in the air so you can hit it. So they're just lobbing themselves an easy question, is what I'm saying.
Quickly, what Kotaku is saying is the dean of students not a senior administrator. I know in my universities I've been to, the deans has always been senior. administrators.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how a senior administrator is not the dean of students,
Yes.
or vice versa. There was some testimony at the trial that a handful of faculty and staff were present. Any Oberlin faculty or staff at the protest participated in their personal capacity and not as a representative of Oberlin. I wonder if any of this then becomes further defamation, if like there's further protests and everything, and then there'll be another hearing on damages for the next doubling down. I don't know.
One of the things that was brought up in the lawsuit was that students were given course credit if they went to the protest, or now what that course credit actually was, maybe they counted as attending the
and
the lesson or
maybe
whatever.
Any protest or something, and not just this one was acceptable, but it's still it's still shady.
If they got course credit for attending the protest, then to me the professor is using their professional role to encourage the protest, which is where you get that link between the administration and the protest. To me, at least, if I was a jury member.
Yeah. So did the student protesters chant that the Gibsons are racist? Yes. Why didn't the dean or other Oberlin officials prevent them from saying that or tell them to stop? Oberlin's policies require the college respond to protests without regard to the content of the message, even when the administration disagrees with the message. Oberlin College is committed to the principles of academic freedom, inquiry, and open exchange of diverse points of view. So what they've done there is flipped the free speech argument back the other direction, saying that, oh, no, we were doing the free speech thing. We were protecting free speech. I don't know. But there is a line where you're no longer hands off. Remember the Live Journal lawsuit that nobody watched? This was huge news, and like almost nobody watched it. But Live Journal was over moderating, and they lost their Communications Decency Act Section 230 protection and their DMCA Section 1201 Safe Harbor protection, or 512 Section Safe Harbor protection. And so you can't over moderate. And so if they have, this isn't necessarily moderation, but if they over participated, then it is no longer protecting free speech, and it's now this, participating in the speech. Did the college defame or libel the Gibsons? I absolutely love this answer. I'll tell you why. They say no, the college did not create, endorse, or condone the Student Senate resolution or the protest flyer that were the subject of this lawsuit. Okay, so maybe they didn't create, endorse the Student Senate resolution or the protest flyer, but the question of did the college defame or libel the Gibsons was answered by a jury of their peers. Not a jury from another country, not a jury from another state, not even a jury from another county. They were adjudicated as having defamed the Gibsons by a jury of their peers. That is no longer, if a jury of my peers said that I did something wrong, I would have a very hard time rebutting that. And that's what's going to happen here on appeal. If the college appeals this, they're going to find that it's a very high standard to overturn a jury's findings. Sure, if the jury got the law wrong, because remember, these are two separate things. You have fact and you have law. If the jury got the law wrong, much easier question. Yes, you can appeal and overturn for when you get the law wrong. When you get the facts wrong, you really have to prove those facts were wrong. So I'm not seeing anything in this document that is showing strong evidence that the jury got the facts wrong. Did the college defame? Okay. Does Oberlin College condone shoplifting? No. Those who steal deserve punishment under the law. Moreover, shoplifting in Oberlin makes business even more challenging for local merchants who are critically important to the health of Oberlin College and the city of Oberlin. Well, there's the first time I've seen them acknowledge that they're part of a community, and maybe they should be taking care of their community. Did Oberlin College officials ever ask the Gibsons or other local merchants to turn students accused of shoplifting over to college staff members rather than the police? They say no. Oberlin College officials never made such a request. I don't know if that's weasel language or not. Maybe it was not done by an Oberlin College official, but by somebody else. Either way, we had that situation where the judge This is, again, we were interacting with some of the most trustworthy legal officials. The judge said that the plea deal was untenable because Oberlin College had asked for all of these things and the protests were still going on, and that Oberlin College had asked for this, please come to us with these things first request, and that this is all tremendously against the idea of plea deals. And so the plea deal had to be put on hold until everything settled down. And then the plea deal could go through when there wasn't this outside coercion. So take that for what you will. It doesn't mean it was Oberlin College that did it, but the jury found it. And then the judge in the criminal charge case against the shoplifter didn't like what the college and the protesters were doing and wouldn't let the plea deal go through. So take that for what you will. What has Oberlin College done in response to community members' concerns about shoplifting? Well, President Ambar arrived 9 months after the protest.
Okay.
Strengthening town-to-gown relations. That's a cute way of saying, I've never heard of that before. That's actually a really cute way of saying that. Town-to-gown relationships. Like a academic gown. Town-to-gown. That's actually really cool. I've never heard that before. Strengthening town-to-gown relations has been one of her top priorities. In August 2018, the college introduced a new orientation program designed to help students think through their responsibilities as residents of the city of Oberlin. Great. This required event, this required event called Community 101, an OB's Guide to Being a Good Neighbor, includes Chief Prosecutor and Assistant Law Director of the city of Oberlin, Farah Emika, who I guess is an Oberlin 97 grad, there we go, Fire Chief Robert Hanmer, City Manager Robert Hilliard, Ben Franklin and Mindfair bookstore owner Crystal Long, Police Chief Ryan Warfield, and several members of the campus community. It introduced students to the town's many special qualities, communicates clearly the college's expectations for appropriate behavior on a wide range of issues, such as noise, street crossing, bike parking, and shoplifting. Additionally, President Ambar introduced a Shop Downtown initiative during orientation commencement to support local businesses. What role did administrators play following the protest? Okay, so once again, they are considering this to be a single protest the day after the thing, and then now we are talking about after that one single protest. My impression was that there were multiple protests and that there was more than just the one incident that the college was accused of participating in. But this is their characterization of it. Oberlin administrators met with the Gibson family, offered to issue a joint statement, offered to facilitate a meeting with selected student leaders to ensure mutual understanding. The Gibsons did not accept the offer of a joint statement or a meeting with students. Why did the college temporarily suspend its baked goods orders with Gibsons after the protest? Among students, tensions remained high. Administrators sought to de-escalate that tension and looked for opportunities to rebuild trust between students and members of the community. A primary point of contention for students was the college's continuing business relationship with Gibsons. In an effort to remove issues that might provoke further confrontation, the college temporarily suspended its daily baked goods order with the Gibsons on November 14, 2016. During the suspension, students were still able to use OB dollars to purchase items at Gibson's, and faculty and staff could still use department funds to pay for baked goods. Whoa, wait a second. I don't know if you noticed that. Did you see what they did there? The first paragraph was talking about the relationship between the college and the food services contractor that supplied Gibson's baked goods to the college. And then they immediately went to say, but you could still use dollars to purchase things at the physical store off campus. They totally conflated that. They expecting you to be like, oh, yeah, they could still buy things. No, they couldn't buy the things on campus. And that was the accusation. The accusation was not that people were prevented from buying things at the physical store. The accusation was that you interfered with a business relationship by telling your food services contractor, I'm speaking to Oberlin, telling your food services contractor to cancel its relationship. So you told a third party who was not involved with the thing at all to cancel its business relationship based on a fourth party, the students. So the students don't like Gibson, so Oberlin tells its contractor to cancel Gibsons. Are you kidding me? We go 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're telling me that we were just supporting our students. Wow. The college resumed its orders February 2nd, 2017, which is, 2 or 3 months later. In total, orders were temporarily suspended for 28 days, I guess because they're saying that the college was closed during the winter holiday. Fair enough. So that's not damage if they don't normally order stuff anyway. Orders are not typically made during year-end holidays and winter term, which spans the month of January. Fair enough. The college continued to do business with Gibsons thereafter until the bakery's owners sued the college until November 2017. Why did administrators state that the police report was problematic? The police report included only testimony from members of the Gibsons family and employees. Testimonies from the 3 students involved in the altercation were not included, nor were narratives from multiple witnesses who provided written statements to the police. I disagree with the first part. Would you normally provide written statements to the public from the 3 arrestees who have rights to remain silent until they speak to their attorney, and even then have a right to remain silent, but also to speak to an attorney? Do you really want to? Wouldn't the college be crying foul if the police had published the students' statements or somehow obtained them before they were properly represented? They would be crying foul. The college would be upset that the students' rights had been violated. So no, you should not be getting these statements from the students without their lawyer's consent before they've been properly booked and all that. So no, at this stage that you're talking about, like the day of the protests, that's not what's supposed to happen. Did some senior administrators and faculty use unprofessional language in emails and text messages following the protests? Yes, some senior administrators and faculty did use unprofessional language in texts and emails after the protests. Disciplinary action was taken in response to this behavior. Why did the college refuse to issue the apology that the Gibsons requested, stating that they were not racist? The college worked with the Gibsons to issue a joint statement, but the Gibsons refused this offer. Then the college didn't work with the Gibsons to issue a joint statement if the Gibsons had refused the offer. That's how language works. That's how present, past, and future tenses work. The college did not work with the Gibsons to issue a joint statement if the Gibsons refused the offer. I mean, are we kidding? This is such a disingenuous letter. I'm so sorry to characterize it before I finished, but geez. The college has never at any time suggested that the Gibsons were racist. An apology from the college would have been misleading, implying the college had taken a position it never had. The appropriate role for the college was to help rebuild trust between the students and the community, and it made efforts to do so both publicly and behind the scenes. Those efforts included a series of meetings with the Gibsons, President Krislov, and various staff. Why didn't Oberlin settle this case before it went to trial? The college made repeated good faith efforts to come to a settlement agreement with the Gibsons from before the lawsuit was filed up through the trial itself. The Gibsons' initial settlement offer was $30 million. While there were negotiations, their settlement expectations remained extraordinarily high. And yet, $30 million is several million dollars less than the college will owe now. Yep. So I would be happy to take that difference, wouldn't you? To have a difference of $10 or so million because you settled. That's the point of settlement. Now, why was it 30 million? So is that a little high? Maybe that's a little high, but there was testimony that the bakery suffered about $5 to $6 million in actual provable damages. Yeah. So take that. Plus, there was some additional damage to Mr. Gibson's person, to the reputation of their family and the company, and 5 generations, now 6 generations of Gibsons. So there was more actual damage than just $5 or $6 million. Keep in mind, this is a college town, and this was one of the main grocery stores for the college town. So this is a big deal. They lost millions of dollars in provable damages. And so multiplying that by 3 or 6 and demanding that number isn't unheard of. And that's exactly what happened here. If the college probably could have settled for less than 30 million. It is a little bit disingenuous to point out just the one settlement offer and then...
Which was also the initial one.
Also the initial one. which I don't know if you've ever bought a used car, but you always ask for too much the first time when you're selling a used car, because who knows? Maybe somebody's in a hurry and can pay it. Who knows? Maybe somebody really wants that car and is willing to spend an extra couple grand for it. So yeah, the answer is no if you don't ask. So you Wayne Gretzky it and you do it. They say while there were negotiations, their settlement expectations remained extraordinarily high. Yes, as extraordinary as the college's behavior, in my humble opinion. Why did the trial end up with such a large verdict? The jury has spoken and we have listened. I disagree.
Did you?
While we respect the jury's service, we believe that there are things to learn from the verdict. We do not believe that the jury applied past legal precedent with respect to the legal claims in this case. What did I just say? The jury finds the facts. They have their own lawyers who are paid far more than I am. Far more than I am. I am in the wrong profession, everyone.
I don't know. I think I might become a lawyer now.
You are in the wrong profession because these lawyers.
They needed somebody. If they even had me, like not even like a trained. Yes,
We got some support.
we have some support here. We have some emotional support in the form of a Nico dog. Can you come up?
Yeah, Nico comes when Leonard gets muted. He's like, "What's
Come
wrong,
up.
man?"
Come up.
Ilsa.
Come up, my boy.
Wanna come
Come
too?
up. Go boy.
Ilsa.
Go boy. Go boy, my dog. Go boy, my dog.
Mental
Ilsa.
health break.
Mental health break.
Like, Ilsa is giving me the eyes from the bed, but she's not coming. Ilsa, come.
Oh, we both just burped. Look at that.
It's just the best. You're exploring possible career changes, like moving over into in-house counsel stuff, because apparently you can get away with quite a bit.
All of these factors, jury, will be part of our consideration as we determine the best path forward and part of the next steps of the legal process. Will Oberlin College have to pay the full amount of damages? No, under Ohio law, such damages are capped. This is true, and I haven't looked into exactly how you get around the cap, so I don't know whether you can. Most other legal commentators that I've read agree that the cap probably will apply. So the cap will be at $33 million total before the attorney's fees. And the attorney's fees are expected to be in the millions, 5 to 10, maybe more. So let's just say 10 million. So 43 total $1 million. Will the damage award by the jury be paid by donations? The college mitigates against these types of risks. We cannot predict the exact path the legal process will follow. The important thing is that Oberlin will do everything in its power to ensure that any costs it incurs will not put an additional burden on students or donors. So the answer to that question is not no. Will this award be paid by future and current donors? Not no. The answer is not no. Will Oberlin appeal? The judicial process is ongoing at this time. We will thoughtfully consider our options and then pursue the path that is in the best interest of Oberlin. The Oberlin College or Oberlin Town? We know which one it is. These options could include an appeal. We will communicate our decision on next steps when the time comes. There have been references to Oberlin's core values in emails. What values are you espousing, since it seems like we have strayed from what makes us truly Oberlin? Oberlin has many core values on which its mission and daily work are based and which are discussed on campus and on an ongoing basis in a variety of venues. Two are particularly important in this case. First, on a pragmatic level, Oberlin is committed to the safety and well-being of all members of the community, especially its students. Okay, so pragmatism is similar to practicality. So what is the practical effect of the sentence? Oberlin is committed to the safety and well-being of all the members of the community. That's not a practical statement. That's like an objective statement. That's saying our objective is to be committed to the safety and well-being, and how we're doing it is the pragmatic level. On a broader level, the college is committed to the free, civil, and respectful exchange of ideas as a foundation for all education and the advance of human knowledge. This letter does not smack of a college that has accepted its responsibility in these things. Finally, it is worth noting that Oberlin has a particular legacy of including the broadest possible variety of perspectives, experiences, and viewpoints in that free and open dialogue. Yes, and you are betraying it!
Sorry.
No, that was me. I did that.
I know, that's why I found it even brilliant.
Yeah. So hear me out here. Tell me if I'm wrong. If Oberlin has this proud legacy of standing up for civil rights and all that, aren't they betraying that by cashing in on all that goodwill now and hoping that everyone will forget about what this thing that they just did? Because look, we have this great legacy. Don't throw us away because we have this great legacy. Well, how about you honor the legacy? How about you commit to maintaining the example instead of changing everything so that you can be special and new and different? Special and new and different is fine when it's innovative, but this isn't innovation. You didn't innovate with this treatment of Gibson's Bakery. No, there was nothing innovative or new or progressive about this. If anything, it's anti-progressive. It's given progressive movements a bad name. If anything, it's given the people who don't like the political progressives another reason to look at the egregious liberalism that's at Oberlin College. It's out of control. You can hear Rush Limbaugh and Steven Crowder and them all say that crap. But they're doing it. Like they did it. The students were out of control, and instead of either not supporting this out of control part, they participated. Anyway, get off my soapbox. What was President Ambar referring to when she wrote in her statement, "There is unprecedented unity around an ambitious new vision for Oberlin. The work of fulfilling that vision is already underway. Long after this lawsuit has receded from memory, that work will shape Oberlin's future." This was the statement that the president put out right after the final jury verdict of the $33 million punitive damage thing. This is referring to the One Oberlin report as institutions of higher learning, especially liberal arts colleges, face unprecedented pressures. Unprecedented pressures?
What?
So wait, a college that costs somewhere around $60,000 a year, they want you to know that only 10% of the students pay that, is facing unprecedented pressures? We have this student loan crisis, and it's the college that's under pressure? Are you kidding me?
A college worth billions of dollars.
A college worth more than $1 billion is under pressure. Unprecedented pressure.
Yeah,
and
guess what?
Go ahead.
You're worth a lot of money. A lot of people go to your school, and a lot of people pay a lot of money to go to your school. You're going to get some pressure for anything that you do.
There's no unprecedented pressure in running a college that's worth $1 billion. You have just stated that you have a legacy of precedent of running this college for 200 years or whatever, and how you've been a bastion for civil rights. And then you've said, and our current pressures are unprecedented. Are we kidding? Are we like if my kids said these things, I'd be like, no, we have to have a talk. You know what I mean? Like you're getting a little crazy here, kid. You know, we're more moderate in this family. We're not extreme left. We're not extreme right. We like to look at the evidence and take it for what it is. So let's have a talk.
This document is coming across as whiny.
Yeah, it is.
Whiny.
It's coming across as whiny. And I swear I do not support like right-wing Steven Crowder stuff or huge left-wing stuff either. I try to maintain like a very centered, moderate political position. I really do consider myself a moderate, or at least I try to. And this is definitely politically biased towards one side.
I mean, see as well, like at my first university I went to, because I went to two, I sat on the Senate, so I sat on the highest board that will make these decisions, and I sat on a disciplinary committee, and we were even not like basically the bakery would have to do some outrageous crimes that actually like threatens the students' population lives before we would even take those steps. Like it is ridiculous just about a shoplifting incident to straight away ban everything. Like I'm just so perplexed.
I mean, yeah. So
I think it's interesting that earlier in the letter they say, you know, we have planned for these sorts of contingencies, and we're not going to let this massive damages finding affect our students or anything like that. So they're trying to sort of comfort people and say like, oh, don't worry, we have the money, or we have reserves, or we have something to be able to pay these damages without negatively affecting our students. But then on the other hand, they're like, unprecedented pressures, and so it's like, okay, so
this hyperbole.
Are we able to fiscally handle this, or are you not? Which one would you like?
Like, just quickly, I just hope that there is a student at Oberlin College that ends up handing in a essay late because he had unprecedented pressures.
Yeah. Or I'm sure, I'm just thinking hypothetically, but there's going to be some student who didn't want to attend the protests and didn't get course credit, who's going to be like, well, wait a second, what about me? Like, I did extra work here. Shouldn't I have gotten this extra credit or something? I'm not suggesting extra lawsuits or whatever. I'm just saying, like, this behavior does affect people. And it has a chilling effect on the free speech of the students who are like, well, wait, now I can't speak out in favor of Gibsons. Like, seriously, if Leonard French went to Oberlin, went to Tappan Square, and started holding up signs and things about how I support the Gibson's Bakery, I'd probably get some milkshakes thrown at me or something, right? And I mean that as a joke, hyperbolically and hypothetically.
In this weather, I wouldn't mind.
But what I'm saying is the college's position, taking a position and not supporting the fact that there's a whole other side to this, shows how much they're biased towards the one side and how dangerous it can be to be another student. So if you're at Oberlin, or if you're thinking of going to Oberlin or something, you're thinking, okay, well, am I allowed to have conservative views? Am I allowed to have just regular views that Gibson's Bakery was not racist? Remember, Gibson's isn't attached to a political stance on this or something. It's not like Gibson's is a conservative organization. And no, Gibson's is just a grocery store. Whatever the political stance is of Gibson's doesn't actually matter and has not come into this. So Oberlin is taking this like, we have these unprecedented pressures, which I can only imagine is they're referring to like political pressures and things. And then they're taking this like one-sided stance and claiming that their free speech is being chilled and their students' free speech is being chilled, when actually it's their taking of these extreme positions that is doing the chilling of the free speech. It's like a level of of misunderstanding yourself or naivete that on a level, well, it's just an extraordinary level. Oberlin is helping to lead the national discussion on how colleges must adapt to the needs of the students and society in the 21st century. The recommendations of the steering committee that produced the One Oberlin report were overwhelmingly endorsed by a general faculty vote and approved unanimously by the Board of Trustees. You know you can all be wrong, right? I mean, it is possible for all of you to vote for an incorrect policy and still be wrong. That's why we also have overarching policies codified in the U.S. Constitution and state constitutions, et cetera, because, yeah, there was a whole section of people who were willing to vote for slavery. So we had to have more or less a law that made it wrong, a constitutional right that made it wrong. So I'm not comparing what you're doing to slavery. Please don't anybody, totally different levels here. But what Oberlin College is doing, just because all these people at Oberlin College voted for it, doesn't mean that they're all right and effective. It's not effective, is it, either? Nothing about this overrides what the jury had to say. Oberlin's College time to present its evidence was during the trial, not now. If it's presenting this now, it's too little, too late. What has been the trustees' involvement in this matter? As stewards of Oberlin with both a fiduciary and strategic responsibility, that's important. Fiduciary responsibility means you must act in the best interests of the thing you're a fiduciary for, in this case, the college. So stewards of Oberlin with a fiduciary and strategic responsibility would have a responsibility to act in the best interests of Oberlin College, not their own personal biases. The trustees have been involved and are closely monitoring the matter. What effect will the large verdicts have? The jury's recent verdict and assignment of punitive damages were a disappointing step in the legal process, but by no means represent a final outcome. President Ambar noted in her most recent campus-wide email, "I am confident that when we resolve this, it will look substantially different than what you see in these early stages." Early? I feel like we're in the late stages. I feel like we're at the end of the thing, and you guys get to choose whether to appeal, but that doesn't make it a new early stage. Importantly, President Ambar also noted in the email that the lawsuit will not distract, deter, materially harm our educational mission for today's students and generations to come. No, I think it's the college's reaction that is harming it. Like the college's reaction could have been one of a healthy reaction of, oh, we made a mistake, or even better, not making the mistake that bad in the first place. Because I have a feeling they could have stopped this several times. Like this train was not like, off the rails for a while. I think that they could easily have stopped this by reaching out to the Gibsons in a more meaningful way, as opposed to reaching out to the Gibsons in whatever way they did that the Gibsons did not have these meetings. Because it sounds like when it was time to have the meetings, the Gibsons had the meetings.
Yes.
So I'm guessing that the college's initial reaction was kind of haughty. The college was being righteous. The college was assuming that the college is in the right and that Gibson's bakery doesn't have any leverage against the college. And so it was sort of arrogant. It was sort of an arrogant response, is my impression. What will Oberlin do differently? Any deep examination of our practices, such as this one, provides an opportunity to learn and to improve, as demonstrated by this letter. We will improve by making even deeper efforts to engage with our local community, continuing discussions and initiatives with our students, faculty, and staff about the impact of even legally permissible speech and behavior, and holding broad campus discussions and training with respect to professionalism, particularly in regard to electronic communications. What steps will Oberlin take to tell the full story of this lawsuit? During the trial phase, the college was scrupulous about not making any public statements that would inappropriately influence a jury or litigate the case through the media. Are we kidding? We all read the letter about the jury's verdict that came from the college's general counsel, in between the jury's first damage award and the jury's second damage award. That ended up getting not shown to the jury, but read to the jury. So take that with a grain of salt. In upcoming phases, Oberlin will be more proactive about explaining the case and illuminating underlying issues. About explaining the case or mischaracterizing the case, and explaining illuminating underlying issues that have high stakes, not just for the college, but for free speech on campuses across the nation. There was no implication for free speech on campuses across the nation. And it is so disingenuous that they are trying their level-headed best, or not level-headed best. They're totally off the rails best to make this into some huge free speech problem. This is not a free speech. This changes nothing on colleges across the country. Colleges across the country can continue to act normally. Oberlin totally overreacted. Oberlin has a duty to help the public understand the value liberal arts colleges offer not only to their students, but society more broadly, and the threats posed by cases like this. You're doing the opposite, Oberlin. You're doing the exact opposite. You are furthering the argument against liberal arts colleges, which I am not in agreement with. I agree that Oberlin should exist and probably is a great college. It is currently overreacting. How should alumni respond to the many classmates asking about this issue? Use this FAQ as a resource. Not a very good FAQ. My humble opinion. I'm a little bit surprised that they still haven't figured out their role in all of this, even after a jury of their peers told them otherwise.
Just one thing that amazes me, how old are you generally here if you go to college?
18 to 23 for undergrad, typically.
I don't even need to give Community 101 to my 12-year-old kids to tell them they should not shoplift and just behave normal and that they're a representative of the school. So if I don't have to teach that to 12-year-old kids, why do they need to follow Community 101 to learn that they should not shoplift?
I'm getting the impression that the college has failed at its educational mission if this is its the college officials aren't properly educated on their own educational mission. Yeah, so that FAQ is what we call softballing questions to yourself and then hitting it out of the park. Did we join the protests, this very narrow definition of protests that we defined ourselves to make it very favorable? Did we do that? No, we didn't join this very narrow definition of protest. Next question. This is like holding a press conference, giving yourself all the easy questions. Yes, and we have, the dog is ready to say hi again, because because
you're getting
over
heated.
there behind you.
That's what he does.
Come up. Come up, my boy. Come up, my good boy. Yes, he's a good boy. He's ready to get some treats over there. Do you see his bright face and his raised ears and his attentive stare? Because he sees treats. Oh, well, in front.
Sorry, I thought your face didn't block that. Sorry.
So that is our show, everybody. Hopefully, we'll maintain our record. Since June 10th, we have released more than one video per day. One video per day, and then a couple days in there, we had 2 videos. So you've had more than one video per day. So definitely make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell if you want the video per day to always show up in your inbox, and make sure to, I guess, check the all you can recommended ones or all notifications if you really want every notification. We'd love to have you have every notification because we'd love to see our channel grow. On that, our growth isn't being supported by YouTube as much as we'd like. The YouTube revenue is down, so if you would like to see us continue our daily release schedule and be able to pay Brandon and be able to pay Tactical and be able to pay me to do these things, then we would like your support on patreon.com/ljfrench or sponsors.org/law, where you can directly support our efforts. We're working on more and more perks. Right now, I just make sure that the Patreons and supporters are notified of every video, and when we try to add like some extra off-topic stuff or ancillary stuff as well. But we would like to begin adding more non-released content, private content just for the patrons and stuff. But what would that be? There isn't a whole lot of behind the scenes here. That isn't me reading something, like sitting here reading a thing, or sitting here listening to an audio book or audio conversion of a legal case. So let me know what you would like to see there from the Patreon and sponsors websites. If you'd like us to post more personal content or stuff like that, that's great. So thank you very much to our supporters in the month of June here. At the $50 level, thank you to John Steele, Gavin Barnard, Kyle Mudrak, Eevi, Michael Pearce, Terry Crisp, Richard Fournier, Spirit Bear, Jan Negrey, Daniel Perez, Aspernari, and Snorre Wisotzky. And thank you to the $5 plus supporters that are scrolling on the LED panel above my head here. This will be all the supporters for the month of June, even though these videos will be dropping on demand in the beginning of July because they were produced in June. Same thing will happen for the supporters as we get to the end of July. There will be some videos in August that still run the June support or July supporters because they, the thing was shot at the end of July. So thank you very much for all your support. I'm Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney. With me in the studio here is Kaylee from Scotland, and in the virtual studio was Tactical and Brandon. Thank you very much for joining me today. Love you all. Bye.